Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Let's Get Plugged podcast. I am LaShawn Davis. I am your host, and I'm also the founder and CEO of the HR Plug, where we work with you and companies to help them understand how important workplace culture is and teach and support you guys how to advocate for yourselves while you're at work. And so today, I'm just excited to be venturing into a new topic. We've talked about HR professionals on this show. We've talked about toxic workplaces on this show. We've talked about toxic leaders on this show. And tonight and moving forward, I am going to celebrate some everyday working Americans on this show. And this is something that I wanted to do because so often we take for granted the people who serve us and who COVID labeled as frontline workers, the people that actually put their lives on the line for us, right? And so that we can be safe, so that we can be healthy, especially when you think about the pandemic, especially when you think about COVID. These are people who work in positions that I just wanted to take a minute to celebrate, honor, and just really deep dive into their day-to-day lives and their career and profession, because there's so many things that they go through that we don't even know. We think about flight attendants, for example, and we think about getting from point A to point B, but not necessarily that flight attendant that's away from home, that's dealing with unruly passengers, the flight attendant that's not even getting paid for the time that they are on the ground, which was mind blowing to me. And so I want to take a minute and just highlight, expose, bring to attention some things that are good about these professions, but also areas that are not so great. If you're thinking about being a flight attendant, this is what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about flight attendants and the lives they live and the places that they work. So, and the conditions that they work in and the people that they interact with, especially during COVID, right, when flights were crazy. And then there was a moment when flights were non-existent, right? And a lot of them were furloughed or laid off. And then, we heard so much about how much the airline industry did not take care of their flight attendants, did not take care of their employees. They wouldn't stop serving alcohol so that people had safer experiences and things like that. So I just wanted to take some time and just really talk to someone very near and dear to me that I've known more than half of my life. And that is literally more than half of my life. And she is someone that I've known since a childhood. She's someone that we've been close but distant and still close. And I'm excited that she's here to share her story about the industry, about the career, and about the profession of flight attendant. So she's a little nervous, y'all. So, let's welcome her warmly. Let's, welcome her to the show. You guys make her feel good. Let me know that you're on here. Say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Because listen, this is something that we've not done normally, and most people don't do. When you think about podcasts, everyone wants to interview or talk to the celebrity or the well-known person or the influencer. Well, on this podcast show, we do things a little bit different because I believe that everybody is a valuable contributor to society. And so they're not used to being in the limelight. They're not used to being in front of the camera. And so we're going to show some grace tonight. We're going to show, them some love. So think about how you feel about flight attendants, what questions you have. What have you always wanted to ask that you maybe never have? Or what do you want to know about the profession? Let me know you're here. Drop in your questions. And I am going to bring out our guest, Roseanne Rudd. Hey, Roseanne, how are you tonight?
Hi, Dawn. Thank you for putting me out there.
I put you out here because you have an important
Yes,
job, and
yes, I do. I
we
do.
shouldn't take that lightly.
Yes, yes. So I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay.
Okay.
Happy to be here. This is a little exciting, even though I am nervous. Still
Listen,
exciting.
we're excited
Mhm.
you're here because I want to celebrate people, like I said, everyday working American people. So let me just plug that real quick. If you're watching this and you have an interesting job or you have an everyday job, like I want to interview a police officer, I want to interview, a school counselor. I want to allow people to take a step into your life and look at what you go through on a day to day basis while you're serving others, because that's what you guys do. You serve others a lot of times before yourself. So let me just run over to the comments right here and let's see who we have, man. We have a lot of comments already. So we have JP Hightek. Let's go. This topic is very interesting. Welcome, JP, to the show. Listen, Suzette, hello. I am so excited to see you. Thank you for joining. It has been a while. Thank you for being here. Hi, Aunt Lorraine. Thank you for joining as well. I see that you're on the show and you're here. And thank you for watching. And it looks like your brother is here. We have Everton here. Look, Everton, I have never spoken to you or met you, but I've heard all about you growing up. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the show. Gloria says, hi, Roseanne, excited to hear from you tonight. David, is that our classmate, David? Is that David?
That is our classmate. And you know what? I ran into him on a flight. He was coming from DC, him and his
Wow.
mother, and I saw him on a flight. Hi,
Wow.
David. Hi,
What's up,
Everton.
David? How are you? Wow. So, listen, a lot of people are excited you're here, so don't be nervous. We are all family here. If you're a guest on this show, it's because you're near and dear to me. So, and you know that already. So, let's jump into it. The world of flight attending, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. So, how long, and we won't say where you work, but how long? Look, let's go ahead and sip this tea, right?
Let's
Because
get this
I'm gonna
tea.
ask some questions. Like I got some things I want to know about the airline
Okay.
industry. But first, let's talk about you. Like, how long have you been working in this industry, and what even got you interested in wanting to do it?
Okay, so I'm gonna make 8 years in July.
What? Wow.
And let me tell you, it literally feels like yesterday. This, when you're working as a flight attendant or flight crew, period, it goes by so fast because your
Mm-hmm.
time is not your own, you know? And I don't know, like I kind of have an aviation background that I didn't even really think about until I got older, and I was like, oh, I have pilots in my family and
Oh.
stuff like that. And when I was younger, I wanted to be a lot of things, but I definitely wanted to be a flight attendant or at least somewhere in the aviation industry so that I can fly around the world and like just see places and travel and be free. So I had been actually applying to different companies for like a while. But it wasn't until I think 2013 that my mom sent me an email saying that, so and so is hiring for flight attendants. I was like, oh, I want to be a flight attendant. So I went and I applied, and it took like a year for me to get the
Wow.
job. It took a long time to the point where I was telling people that I got the job, but they didn't send me to training yet. And after a while, I was like, I know everybody thinks I'm lying. I know people think I'm lying.
So they're
It's
slow.
wild.
So hold
Yeah,
on, right? So if
it's
you
slow.
are interested in being a flight attendant and you've applied and it's been 8 months, hold on. It's the look.
Yeah, hold on, because you still have a chance. You still have a chance.
Awesome. I always thought you were going to be like a dancer or like an actor, something in, social. So it doesn't surprise me that your whole goal here was to fly around the world to be free because
Right.
that is exactly you. So do you get to do that? Like as a flight attendant, do you get to fly around the world and all of that and be free?
I do. The last trip that I went to on my own, I think was I went to Rome and Portugal. That was like by myself. I tend to solo travel. So
Hmm.
I went to Thailand by myself. I went to Kenya. So I was, when COVID started, I was gearing up to go to Bali,
Hmm.
and COVID came and whatever. So hopefully maybe before the end of the year, I'll be able to do that or go to Ghana
Somewhere.
with,
And you
yeah,
get to go
like I
for
want to go
free?
somewhere.
Like, do y'all fly for free? Everybody
Okay.
want to know that. Do you fly for free?
Everyone
And
wants to know that, and no, it is not free because first
what?
of all, I dedicate my time and my energy for these benefits, one, and two, there's always trip valuation for the flights, right?
Mm-hmm.
So basically, let's say if I want to go to, if I want to go to Atlanta, something simple like Atlanta, I can book the flight. I don't have to pay anything for Atlanta. But there's a trip valuation. So let's say the trip is valued at $125. It that adds up on my taxes. So now when tax time comes around, they're going to add all that up into my income, and it can push me to a higher income bracket. So you're paying for it. And then on top of that,
Wow.
if you're going to an international destination, you definitely have to pay taxes to leave that country. So like, let's say I wanted to go to Japan. I think Japan, like I checked, it was like $50, but you can go somewhere like Jamaica and it's like $160 or something like that. Like, so
Wow.
you definitely have to pay. It's not free. I dedicate so much of my energy just to even get these things. So when
Wow.
people ask for buddy passes, that's not free either, you know? So
They go through the same thing you go through, like having to pay something depending
yeah,
on where they're going.
there's a price. Now, depending on your status, because my companion, same as me, my parents, they have to pay a little bit more, but there's still a trip valuation. And then my buddy pass holders, which is like
Mm-hmm.
friends and family, they have to pay even more, but there's always a trip valuation that hits you. And a lot of times, flight attendants don't even realize that. Like, or not even just flight attendants, but aviation workers. They don't tally things like I do. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm always going to know
Right.
where my money's going. But so sometimes they're like, "Oh yeah, take this," and I'm like, your income is going up,
Oh
right?
my goodness.
You need to get that money back. You need to get that money back from the people because as far as IRS, you made that
Mm-hmm.
money.
That is interesting. So it's almost like if you take a $10,000 trip, you're going to have that value, whatever the value is for that trip, added as your income on your W 2. And then if you don't
Yes.
pay taxes for that, when you file your taxes, you're going to end up owing on that
Yeah.
amount.
Yeah. Well, 10,000 is steep. I've never seen anything like that. I've never seen that. Um, I think the highest I've seen was like going to London is actually very expensive. A
Mm,
few $100s just for me. So
right.
the more like if you're a buddy pass holder, it's going to be even more. But yeah,
Wow.
we still
And it
have to
adds
pay.
up, and it
It adds
adds
up.
up, especially because you're talking about a few $100s for one trip, just you. But if you and
Right.
your family are going and y'all going 4 times a year, like that does add up. And
That
then,
adds up. Yeah.
wow, so that's a myth that y'all fly for free.
That's it. It's such a myth. And so
Oh my
people
gosh.
people definitely will invite you to every event that they have all over the world, and they will just expect you to just show up. And
Mm,
they don't realize, like, okay, one, I have to work, and two, I have to pay. Like, I still have to pay.
right, right.
Yeah.
So one question, JP asked a question like, how long are flight attendants required to be away from home? So you're traveling to different points. So how long are you away from home?
Okay, so it depends. And I can only speak for my airline because, every airline has like a different way of doing it. But for the most part, um, you work, I don't want to, for the most part, it's very random. Like you can
Mm-hmm.
work from like 50 hours all the way to like 200 hours. But when I say you work 50 hours to 200 hours, I'm talking about flight hours.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're killing yourself, which is what I consider it, and you're working 200 flight hours. You probably gave 300, 400 hours of your life to the company just to get 200 flight hours, which you're only paid for those 200 flight hours. The extra 100, 200 hours, you're
That's
not,
not.
you're not.
Let me
Yeah.
break that down for the people who don't speak flight language. Okay, so if you've ever taken a flight before, when you're boarding the plane, and you got the person that's so slow in front of you because they can't find their seat, and that nice flight attendant comes and says, let me see your ticket, let me help you to your seat, or can you help me get my bag in the overhead so that other people can board the plane. all of that time they're working, but they're not getting paid for that because they're not in the air. And
Right.
so, in everywhere else in our world, quote unquote, working off the clock is illegal, right? Anything that you do that brings benefit to the company, you're compensated for. So I was mind blown when I saw and learned that flight attendants are expected to service the people coming on the flight during boarding, and you're not paid for that time. Yet you're away from home, yet you're not doing what you want to do, yet you're in uniform, and yet you're working, but you're not paid.
And you're also subject to disciplinary action in that time. So it's kind of not fair because,
It's
like,
crazy.
I, yeah, like
How?
I'm supposed to be there. If I'm late, like everything down to the minute, if I'm late, down to the minute, if that airplane door closes 1 minute late, I can get in trouble, but I'm still not on the clock officially,
When
you
you're
know?
on, if you're on the plane, you're still not on the
Yeah,
clock.
I'm on the plane, but I'm not being paid, but I can be subject to disciplinary action. If
That's
that
crazy.
if that airplane door does not close at departure time 5:10 and it was something that maybe a crew member did,
Mm-hmm.
or the passengers didn't sit down fast enough, they didn't if they don't feel like we worked fast enough, then yes, it can be a problem.
That's ridiculous. I mean, I don't even understand. Like, y'all understand. I don't even know if y'all understand what she just said. Like, you show up to work and you gotta work. And if you're late, you'll get in trouble. But sometimes it could be out. Like, what if the plane is delayed? Like, I've been on plane, mechanical issue. We're still on the ground. Like, all that time y'all are waiting, are you getting paid?
Okay, so if it's delayed, that's not our fault. So, maintenance issues, that's something else.
Well, thank
We're not
God.
getting paid. So a lot of times, passengers will come up to us upset about being delayed, and I'll just they think that like we're in cahoots with somebody and we're like doing it to them on purpose. And I'm like, well, I'm not even on the clock. Like I'm just here, you know, and they're complaining and they're trying to stress us out and they want this and they want water for their pills and all these things. And I'm not even getting paid. I'm like, sir, I mean, I'm like, I tell them,
Oh, you
I
let
have
them know?
no problem. I have no problem with
And
with
that I
letting
know.
them know, like, this is not something that I put together. I'm not trying to do this on purpose to you. I'm not trying to hurt you. This is hurting me because now not only am I not getting paid,
My pay
but
is
now I'm
delayed.
going to have an even longer day.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a shorter layover. And that my layover might only be 10 hours. And that's 10 hours from once you hit the ground. So that 10 hours, I might only have like 8 hours behind the door. And that 8 hours behind the door is mandatory. And that's time to eat, sleep, wake up, get ready, and repeat.
And that's
So you're not really getting a full 8 hours of sleep.
wow. So Gloria says, what people need to take their seats expeditiously, right? So the next time you guys
Yeah.
are getting on a plane and you have that unruly customer that just want to hold everybody, y'all let them know, listen, they not getting paid. And the longer you take, the longer you're delaying, they're getting paid and extending their workday, right? David
Exactly.
asked a good question. So are flight attendants paid to get rid of unruly passengers before the flight takes off? So if you're hackling or cackling with a passenger and you have to do something that's in the safety for everybody else, are you paid for that before the flight
No,
takes off?
because it's time on the
Oh,
ground. The
I
only thing,
I would let them fight. I'm not
the
breaking
only
up no
yeah,
fight.
we're not getting paid. So if you guys want to fight, I'm gonna get you off the plane because I don't want to deal with that in the air.
Right.
I promise you, I'm gonna get you off the flight. But we're not getting paid to do that, you
Wow.
know.
Wow. And what about pilots? Is it the same for them? Do you know? Like, are they flight time as well?
Okay, so pilots, like I said, every company they might have a different union, so they might
Mm-hmm.
have different contracts but no, they're not getting paid. Now they do get a little bit of money during the delay. Like, okay, let's say there's sit time between flights. So let's say I go to Atlanta and then I leave Atlanta and I go to Bermuda. I could end up sitting between that Atlanta Bermuda flight. I could end up sitting for 4 hours, just sitting in Atlanta, waiting to go to Bermuda,
Wow.
and I'm not getting paid. And pilots, they might not be getting paid their full hourly rate, but they might get a little something you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah,
Wow.
they're a
So this
little.
is why now look, I understand fully when the flight attendant's like, you guys, we need to move. Can we clear the aisles? Let's get in
Yeah,
so we can get they trying to get paid. Like they
yeah, we're
trying to
trying to
get their
get
day.
paid. We're trying to get going. We're
Man.
trying to get to our next flight. We're trying to get to our layover. We're trying to get home.
Yes. Or home.
You
And
know,
we got to
yeah,
stop being selfish on these planes. Like we got to start thinking
yeah,
about the people whose job it is to make sure that we get there safely, moving quickly so that they can get home.
yes.
And you mentioned that you're in a union, right? And unions are really big, right? The airline industry is very, notorious for having unions, but a lot of people think, oh, unions are the best interest or whatever of the employee. And I've done an episode on my perspective of unions and how they're beneficial or valuable when they are. But it's
Mhm.
just amazing to me that even with a union, they are not fighting to change this working and not being compensated for it.
So I remember 8 years ago when I was a young flight attendant.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting on the ground on the airplane and the plane was delayed. And I kicked my feet up and I said, oh, well, at least we're getting paid.
And nope.
And my crew member looked at me and he was like, oh, poor thing. Mama, we're not getting paid. And I was like, wait, hold up,
Wow.
what happened? I was like, I didn't catch that in training. And I was like, wait,
Wow.
what are you talking about? And he's like, no, we're not getting paid. And I was like, what the? And I was like, listen, this is unacceptable. And I was like, how long have you been here? Like just doing this free labor, And I'm just, to me, it was just something I couldn't even fathom.
I still
And he was
can't.
like, well, maybe, yeah, he was like, well, maybe you'll be the one to change that. But what I see from a lot of the membership, which is disheartening to me, is that when you mention things like this that has been going on for so long and it's not working or it's unfair, a lot of times people just say, well, it's not going to change or that's just the industry standard. So it's like they have no fight. They have
Mm,
no fight. They don't want to get together and unify and actually make them change. And for the past 8 years, that's all I've been hearing from like they have their group, right? And then you have your group that's like, well, why don't you guys be quiet and let the people who want to
mm,
change things? And so now, 2 days ago, one of the big three airlines, which the
uh-huh.
big three is American, United, and Delta, and
Okay.
one of the big three airlines approved boarding pay. I don't think they pay for deplaning, but they
Mm,
approved boarding pay, which is paying their flight attendants um, for a fraction of their hourly rate. And for me, I'll take it because that
right.
I saw somebody doing the math, and I'm not sure if the math is correct, but they were saying they also got a raise a couple of months ago. And I think it was like 4% raise. And then when you add on this boarding pay, all in all, it's like they're getting a 16% rise in their income just for paying them for their time.
Mm.
So I'm excited about that because I
I
feel like
saw
it's a
that,
step in the
and
right
I'm gonna
direction.
just say it. I saw it was Delta Airlines. I saw it that somebody had mentioned it that Delta Airlines was doing this. Now, what took you so long, Delta? I don't know, but I'm glad that whether it's the what's happening in the landscape for employees right now or whatever it was. I'm glad that you did what you needed to do to drive the change that was important to your employees and even like you said, if it's a fraction, it's changed. And
Right.
all the people like, oh, it's always been like this or whatever. It's still now is the ample opportunity to drive that change. So I'm happy to hear at
Right.
least they're doing something about it. And I'm also happy to hear that Spirit Airline is not one of the big three. Because if you would have named them as one of the big three, I just would have just had given up on the airline industry altogether. Because
Why?
they Spirit is just when you think about Delta, for example. So I'm in Atlanta. I fly Delta a lot, and there's just a standard that they have of service. There's a standard that they have of just excellence. Like when you're walking working with them or dealing with them, that just doesn't exist in Spirit. I just don't even know if the people who work at Spirit are still in school learning, and it's just like a training ground or whatever it is. But
Oh,
it just wasn't
okay.
experience. Everybody I talked to, now look, y'all don't make me feel like I'm alone. I know some of y'all have flown Spirit and have thought, I am never flying Spirit again. Never again. Now, it's been years since I've flown Spirit intentionally, and maybe, and I've heard they've grown and that they've gotten better. But look, I'm not alone. Look, Spirit is the worst, simply the worst. Look, no
Oh
lies
no.
told. Like, so it's about standards, right? And then the deceitfulness of, you got to pay to do everything. You got to pay to breathe. Like, you know what I'm saying? Whereas
Oh
everywhere
man.
else you can bring a bag and check it on, check in or carry on. Spirit, $25. Oh, you want a snack? $5. Oh, you want, I don't, and it's like, really? So it's the deceitful practices. And then you want to charge me all of this money, and then the seats are not even comfortable. They're like smaller, than others. And again, I'm just speaking from my personal experience. If Spirit wants me to say nice things, then they can pay for me to be a sponsor. They can be a sponsor of the show, and then I will find the nice things to say. But look, and people say between seats and service, woo, the seats and the service, right? So all of that matters. And so, ever since I never flew on Spirit, I'm an American airline guy. I've never flown American because I think American is like in Miami or what have you. And I just never, I just didn't fly planes when I was living there as a child, and I haven't, but I've not really heard much about American. I haven't heard much about United, anything bad, I should say. But if you mention Spirit, people have have something to say. So I'm glad they're not the big three. But again, they could have gotten better. So if you're watching or you're listening and Spirit has improved, go ahead and let me know, and I will happily recognize them for that. But I can only speak from my own experiences, and yeah, never again. So, but that's good to hear that Delta's progressing, and doing things for their employees in that
And the
regard, and
entire industry.
the entire industry. Like I still, like you were in disbelief probably 8 years ago. I still am. When I found that out, I still cannot believe. Even the companies won't even think about. You're asking people to be at a certain place away from home, and you don't want to pay them because why? Even though what you're doing is a reflection of them, their company,
Mhm.
their service, their quality, and all of that. So, yeah, thanks for that, Roseanne. So, question for you:
Yes.
uniforms.
Yes.
Do you have to pay for them, or are they
So,
provided?
initial training, we get our uniforms. We pay for them. They take them out of our paycheck periodically. And once that's done, that's it. And then they give us every year they give us like a bank of money that they allow us to order whatever uniforms. And then once that's done, we just kind of like trade amongst each other or buy from each other and stuff like that. Sometimes people will donate uniforms, and some flight attendants might be able to go in and just pick them up and stuff
But
like that.
still, you,
Yeah.
you you still gotta pay.
We
Some
initially we have to pay for our uniforms, our luggage, and then I think um I think my airline does like every 3 years they'll replace your luggage.
wow.
Which let me tell you, like sometimes those bags can be looking tore up, okay? Because
Oh my
3 years
gosh,
is a long time running
it
around with those
is.
bags,
It
you
is, and
know?
luggage is expensive. And you trekking through the airport. Okay, so we learned about uniforms. There's stipends, but then you also pay, and then you can also get it donated, and luggage and all of that. But can I be plus size and be a flight attendant? Because why don't I ever? Is there like weight limits? Because I don't ever see a plus size flight
Well,
attendant.
Well, I see them all the time, honey, because let me tell you, sometimes they can't even get up and down the aisle. Let me tell you, it's even hard for me to get up and down the aisle. But there are plus size flight attendants. As long as you can fit in the jump seat,
Mm-hmm.
and strap yourself up in the seatbelt. You can be a flight attendant. You can be our oldest. We have some flight attendants that are like well into 80 something years of age. So
What?
you can definitely be very senior and be a flight attendant. You could be retired, you can have a whole career. A lot of people do this, and I respect it. You know, you have a
Mm-hmm.
whole career, you retire, and then some people they just get up and say, you know, I've always wanted to be a flight attendant. And the airline holds place for people like that. And it's a beautiful thing, you know. Some people they want to live out their dream flying around the world, and that's cool.
Wow, I didn't know that either. So you can, you know, definitely go there. So let's see here. Let's see here. The company should be embarrassed if their employees have ripped up luggage and should just buy it for their employees. What are they doing with all of these bailouts they're getting? I mean, that's a really good question because I would think luggage is an essential asset or essential tool that you need to do your job. In order to travel, you need something to put your luggage in. So if I work as an administrative person, I'm provided a computer because I needed to do my job. So if
Right.
flight attendants need luggage to do their job because they travel, why wouldn't that be provided, you know, just for free?
Yeah.
And if I want to use my own luggage as my option, but it's crazy to me. Like they don't even give
Yeah.
it to you. What are they
Yeah.
doing with all this money?
Ciao.
Cause I need flight attendants to get free luggage, right? As a part of their job, I need them to be paid for boarding time, their full rate of pay because they are fully working, representing
Right.
your business to customers, providing a service away from family, and then held accountable to performance standards when they're not even being compensated for it. I
Right.
need you guys to do better for these individuals in this industry.
Yes. Yes.
You know, and I saw, let me say, this is another reason why I respect you guys so much. I saw an article just today that a man was arrested on a Delta flight because he assaulted a flight attendant. And is that common? You know, like, do we really have customers trying to fight y'all?
We do. We've had like an uptick of violent passengers since COVID. I've had I had a situation myself. I think it was was it 2020? Was it last year? It was probably last year, where a passenger was like very threatening towards me. He was like inciting like bad behavior in first
Mm,
class. And I mean, this was a big guy. This was a big guy. And I'm sitting there and he's mad at me because he wants more liquor and him and maybe it was his brother or something. And they were getting liquor and taking it to main cabin, which you can't do that, you know?
mm,
And my 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 coworker was like, okay, we need to cut them off now. And he didn't like that at all. And I'm telling you, I mean, I never felt so threatened actually in my life.
wow.
Like, because I can deal with a lot, okay? I can deal with a lot, but at this one point, this one guy had me feeling so threatened. And I was just like hiding in the galley, and my coworker left me by myself. He went to the back, left me by myself to deal with this man. And so I was just like, that's it. I'm done. No service for anybody because I'm not dealing with this. And then, of course, other people got upset. And it was just,
Oh
I
my
don't ever want to
gosh.
deal with it. And then
These
I was on a flight once where it turns out that this guy was like ex-Marine special ops or something like that. He comes on the flight and there was like an old man that was resting his hand on the back of his seat because you know he's old, he needs like support. And the man didn't like that and he started arguing with him. And next thing you know, he's like arguing with everybody. And it was just really bad. He starts arguing with the flight attendant. Now the flight attendant's like, we need to get him off the plane. So they call security. He didn't want to get off the plane. They had to get like, this is in a foreign country, so I don't even know what these people are called,
mm-hmm,
but they
mm-hmm.
had to get some type of law enforcement. It was over 10 guys that had to come and drag him off the plane because he said there's no way that he's getting off the plane. And I'm in the back of the plane, and he's like maybe 5 rows to the back, and he's like screaming and yelling, and he's like overpowering these men. And
Oh,
they have their like guns in their waist, and he's like going to grab their gun, and you see passengers jumping over seats.
oh
They
my
ran to the
gosh.
back galley where I was, and I was like in the corner because they ran, and then there was a gate agent that was still on board, and she sprained her wrist because they ran right into her, and they literally had to open because they couldn't take him out the front. They had to open the back of the aircraft where I was, and eventually they like literally dragged him off the plane. Like I had never seen anything like that. It was
Wow.
so scary because I saw how close he was to the weapon, and I'm like, this man is not playing. He is so
Mm,
serious. And even
wow.
when he got to the door, he was like, "You guys are not getting me off this plane." It was
Oh my
so
gosh. So not
we
only
did feel
do
about
they just misbehave, they just really
it. Yeah,
misbehave. Wow.
yeah.
How unfortunate. So, yeah, this was going to be my question. So, they don't have police on each flight. So, you watch these movies and there's always usually like an undercover person somewhere on every flight. Is
Oh,
is
the
that
air
true?
marshal. The
Mm-hmm.
air marshal. Okay,
Oh.
yeah, we have air marshals.
And they didn't help. They didn't like.
Well,
I would just say, look, we have them. What they
we
do,
have air.
look, they're
Huh?
probably not getting paid either. So they probably like if we on the ground.
We have them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So are you trained? So somebody asked a question. Hi, Molly. How are you? Thank you for joining. Do the airlines offer any kind of de-escalating training? That's a good
All the
question.
time. And we also have physical training.
Really? Do the
Yeah,
do the
so
people who conduct these trainings or facilitate them have they been flight attendants before to understand what to
yes,
do? Cool.
yes. Our flight instructors are flight attendants.
Awesome.
So we do have combat like it's but it's not a lot. We do do combat training, but it's not a lot. You know, it's cute. It's cute.
It's cute. It's all right. Yeah. It ain't
It's
all right.
cute. Yeah.
So, yeah, but it's always different when you're in the moment, right? When you're in the moment and
Right.
you're in those situations, natural instincts are going to kick in.
Right.
But it is good. Like, I do like, because I've seen and heard people that, how are you training me for a job you've never done and you don't understand? And,
Yeah.
this is impossible. So it is good to hear at least the company you work for does use, people working the job to do the training. So tell me, like, I talked a lot about, the bad, I guess, and the ugly. So what's the good? Like, what do you enjoy about being a flight attendant? And would you recommend, somebody asked earlier, would you recommend this career to anybody? What are the good things that you like about it?
Okay. So one, let me say real quick, I do recommend it for a certain type of person. So
Okay.
a lot of people don't, they think it's this glamorous job. But that glamour doesn't exist anymore. That was back in the Pan Am days, like the original Eastern Airlines days. Those days are done. Okay. So I do recommend it. I just recommend that people actually understand fully what they're getting themselves into. But what I will say is there's no way to fully understand what you're getting yourself into until you get yourself into it. So there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people like they complain all the time, and then there's the group that, oh well, you signed up for this. I didn't know what I was getting
Mm-hmm.
into, right? So for me, honestly, there's two things that I truly love about this job. Right now, if I want to, I can log into my computer, I can book a flight, and I could be gone before the end of the night. I could do that. Another thing is I meet so many interesting people from all over the place, and we've like had so many different conversations about so many different things, and it's a beautiful, like mind
Mm-hmm.
expanding experience. Like I love that. You know, every now and then I'll run into someone, whether it be a passenger or a coworker, that just like leaves me feeling fulfilled. Like,
Mm-hmm.
this was a fated meeting between me and them, you know, and I know they feel that way too. So I actually like that part of the job. a lot of times what people don't realize is the coworkers that we have on board the flight at any moment in time are total strangers. We do not know each other.
Really? So you
We,
don't pick your crew, like you guys don't say, "Hey, let's all do this flight together." Like you don't.
you could, what they have is called buddy bid. So you could pick a person and buddy bid, and hopefully, like, you know, you can get
Get it, but it's not
scheduled
guaranteed.
together. But that's not like always gonna happen. And you don't
Mm,
find that happening a lot. And then let's say it might be just two of us that are together, but then the rest of the crew, we don't know them. So there's like a lot of times passengers will, they're very scary sometimes. So they'll be like, what's her name? They wanna complain. Oh, I don't know. I do not know. Okay.
mm,
That's the number one, or that's the number two, or that's the number three. We have numbers. And I don't even know their numbers sometimes. That person works in
wow.
the front. This person works in the back, you know.
So, like in custom traditional places, you know your coworkers, you know who they are, you get
Right.
to know them. But as a flight attendant, you could be partnered with somebody who's trying to get to home, which is where your destination is, and you meet total strangers every day.
Every day. And it's actually a beautiful thing for a couple reasons.
Mm-hmm.
The job never gets stale because you're constantly rotating. So
Mm-hmm.
you meet like my last flight, I met this guy named Hector. I fell in love with Hector. Like he's my best friend. And sometimes you meet people that like leave a lasting impact, and then you move on to the next.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do get a problematic coworker, you know that okay, this is going to end in 3 days, or this, depending on how long the trip lasts.
They ain't gonna
So
make
you know,
it.
like, listen, I this is about to be over with, so I don't even have to worry about you for too long, you know?
Mm-hmm. And can you can almost tell too, like they're not gonna make it. Like you going you struggling a little too much. You're mad about not getting paid. Can you tell when the newer people come, newer flight attendants come, and you're working with them versus more seasoned? Is it very obvious to you since you've been in it for a long time when it's somebody new?
Everybody complains. It doesn't matter. It
Everybody
doesn't matter.
complain.
Yeah, everybody. It doesn't matter their seniority. They're all gonna complain at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Some for good reason, some just miserable. You
Mm-hmm.
know,
You
I
know, do,
remember. Mhm.
oh, go ahead.
I remember I came off of social media for like a year, and it was like I loved my job more than anything for that year because I wasn't subject to all the people complaining in the work groups on Facebook and stuff like that. And I like
Mm-hmm.
fell in love with my job. And then I rejoined social media, and then all of a sudden I'm like, this job, like, so it just depends.
The people can make or break your experience, but it's good to hear that it's the diversity of people that you meet that make it an enjoyable career for you. So if you're interested in being a flight attendant and you like meeting new people, you like going new places, exploring new things, definitely worth. And you can wait a year. Definitely worth considering as a career path for you. This is a real flight attendant, and she definitely recommends it for the right reasons and for the right person.
Yeah.
And let's talk about those earrings.
Oh, so I had a flight to Haiti a couple weeks ago,
Okay.
and this beautiful young lady walks on the plane, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I love your earrings!" And she took them off and gave them to me. So I just
Wow.
wanted to wear them and shout them out real quick. I don't know her name, but one of the things I will say, like, you have certain destinations that are known for having like really nice people, and then there's certain destinations it's like
Mm.
I'll skip that
Mm.
one. So I find that a lot of the Haiti flights have some of the most beautiful people. I mean, they will
Mm.
really gas your head. Oh, you're so beautiful. You're so beautiful. Let me tell you, if you ever need an ego boost,
Go to
Haiti.
Haiti. Listen, shout out to Haiti. Like, so that
Yes.
is one of the flights that that are very nice, not really unruly people or what have you. And that was very nice. So shout out to if you ever find out the artist that is Haitian that, gave you these earrings or made them or whatever. We'll shout them out on the show. But it's people like that that also I'm sure make your job fulfilling, right? To know that there are still good
Yeah.
people who care and are supportive. So I did love that. And so, we're wrapping up our show. And this was so much fun. And you are like, my official recruiter for podcast guests.
Yeah.
So, I know that we'll be talking to a pilot soon. I know that I'm going to be talking to the hostess waitress soon and all of that. But if you are listening or you're watching this show and you want to share your story or you have an interesting career that you want people to know, hey, it's not all it's cracked up to be. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of rumors. Definitely let me know. Let's link up and we can see about getting you on the show because I do want to celebrate everyday working Americans because that's how we learn from each other. Like I don't want to watch no lying commercials, corporate videos, and I want to hear from the real people who do the job what their experience is like. And so that's what this is about. So thank you so much, Roseanne, for being here. People
Thank
enjoy the
you.
show. Thank you, Gloria, for watching. Thank you, David, for watching. Thank you, Molly, for being here. I hope you guys learned something. I know that Miss Lorraine said, wow, that she really learned something tonight. And that's what this is all about, just really educating you, enlightening you, and inspiring you to do something different that you've never done before or learn something new. So, Roseanne, thank you again for being here. Anything you want to say before you go? What message, shout outs, whatever you want to do?
Okay, so I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the comment section. I see some people there that I love dearly, so I just want to thank you for showing up. And one thing I want people to understand about being a flight attendant, if you want to become a flight attendant, you need to be ready for reserve. That is a
Mm.
big thing, especially for junior flight attendants. You can find yourself giving your life away to a company that can call you at 1 o'clock in the morning and say, get your stuff. You need to be at the airport in less than 2, 3 hours, and we're sending you to Paris. Like, or we're sending you to Los Angeles, or they can send you anywhere. Like you can be in your sleep
Mm.
and they can call you. You have to be ready to go
So it's like
for
on
the
call. So as a flight attendant, you
on
have,
call.
and is it,
You have to be
do you know
you
when
have
or
to
is it
be
all the time?
well, it depends because for my airline, it's straight reserve for a
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of years. And okay, straight reserve for a certain amount of years. And then you do like 1 month on, 1 month off. And then I
Mm.
think for a certain amount of years. And then you do like 1 month on, 3 months off until you're senior enough to just hold a line. So when you hold a line, you have a set schedule. So
Wow.
it's hard. It's hard for flight attendants sometimes.
Oh, so that's different. So when you first start
Yeah.
out, just be prepared to be called, on call, to be ready, be available because it's a part of your responsibility, right? To
Yeah.
to show up. Don't be late. You'll get in trouble. You'll get written up. Don't expect to get paid for the time you're waiting to get on the flight after they done woke you up out of your sleep to be there. But it's a requirement for the job. So that is something definitely interesting. I did not know that either. That flight attendants are on call. Hi, Ricky Robinson. How are you?
She's a
She's
flight attendant.
hey, listen. Hats off to you, Ricky. Thank you for doing what you're doing. We're gonna try to get you paid. I'm hoping that this podcast, will bring some awareness and attention here, and you guys can get compensated for all the work you do for the company. So, make sure you guys subscribe. Let everybody know about this episode, this channel, and what we're doing here at the HR Plug because there's power in numbers. We learn that every day. And if you're already subscribed to this channel, do me a favor and text somebody else and tell them to subscribe as well, so that we can the videos can get circulated. The more people that are subscribed, the more people that watch it, the more we can get the word out there, and the more that we can drive some change. So thank you, Roseanne. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. I'm going to send you backstage now and hang out for me while I close out the show.
Okay. Okay.
Thanks. All
Bye,
right.
Rosie.
So listen, this was a great episode, and I appreciate Roseanne for being here, sharing her story, giving us the inside scoop on life as a flight attendant, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Make sure that, if you are a passenger and you are flying, be respectful for the flight attendants, for the crew members, for the pilots, and all the people that are showing up to work possibly not getting paid, but still trying to make it an enjoyable experience for you. So think about that the next time you fly. Tell a flight attendant thank you. Tell them you appreciate them. Throw them a little money, whatever you got to do, but just do something to show gratitude and appreciation for, them sacrificing their time and they're not even getting paid for it. So thank you, flight attendants. Thank you, anybody that works in the airline industry, on planes and pilots and all of that. What you do to keep us safe, to get us to point A to point B is much appreciated. And as frontline workers, we salute you for putting yourself out there for our safety, even when it's before your own sometimes. So that's what this episode was about. It was about flight attendants. And if you enjoyed this, make sure you subscribe. Next week, we're also going to be talking about another profession. We're going to have somebody here who's going to be talking about their life and their profession. So if you want to know what that's about, make sure you tune in. Make sure you subscribe so that you can get that notification. And follow us on social media. We are on all things social media: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at the HR Plug. Make sure you connect. Let me know you saw this episode, what you enjoyed most about it, what you'd like to see in the future. And until next time, we will be back next Wednesday, same time, 8 p.m. right here on YouTube. And if you're listening later or watching later, thank you for watching and thank you for supporting this channel. Have a good night.